then okay, if you got to play either Connecticut or you got to play USC, two of the other and these players actually play your position. Paige play your position, Juju play your position. So if you beat them, then you deserve all the clout and the glory. And then if you make it to South Carolina and then you beat them, like bro, you literally pulled.
I don't think nobody can beat South Carolina. Right
I don't neither, but still, if you supposed to be,
I still get what she did.
No, I still would give her respect if she can get through. If she get through LSU, and then she still get through whoever next. If it's USC or if it's UConn, I'm not like I can't. You can't hate on that. I'm just not a fan of that, and that because realistically, and I think that's the only difference between I guess the men's game and the women's game is men's college. John, you can't make the tournament, or they not even acknowledging. You don't even get no ranking if you don't play nobody. So it's just
because, and that's the thing that they've been fussing and arguing with because like they just started calling it March Madness. They wasn't even calling it March Madness, the women's tournament.
Yeah, of course.
And so a lot of stuff like they just starting to get or even starting to record because even Selection Sunday for the women's, it was never a thing.
Yeah, so now that it is,
of course, for sure. More people
watching it, people tuning into it, and of course, and a lot of it, and let's be clear, a lot of it is race based. So I mean, of course, even I'm sure if I'm ESPN or anybody, honestly, you probably want the USC versus Iowa, John. But like I told when we talked about it last week, what I told you to me for the biggest get back to who can win the Final Four and get their name back into the conversation is for Paige. Like, dog, she ain't like she literally just went under the radar. That was started the argument with me and our younger brother earlier because it was just. She kind of took the injuries, kind of got the best of her because she was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark. Like she was the face of the women's college basketball, and then she got injured, and then that's when all the new girls came in. So, like I said, and to me, of course, her conference is even harder. So it's just a lot. I understand now. I get more when it comes to like college football, how hard they go when it comes to just judging who you played because Iowa still ain't really played nobody. Okay, all right, they beat LSU, and I mean to me that's one star. Like if this was Grand Theft Auto, you just about to get to your 5-star situation because you sit here. All right, now I beat LSU. Now I got to move on to whoever next, and then then you got one more game. You got to see South Carolina.
But then that's why I feel like it's when you look at it, you can't crucify like let's say like a school that's not a popular school. A lot of those schools you got to pay for those. You know what I'm saying? Like
pay for them games. Pay to get there. Pay to get popular.
I mean, and now I don't know about in the women's if it's the same as it is in the men, but a lot of those games you don't just get but I want to play you. You know, I want to have the hardest schedule. Depending on like how the division or whatever conference you in,
of course,
who y'all playing or who you can't. Like I said, yes, you do have a lot of open slots, but then also if your team is not. You know who you think it is. You're not going to see. Well, I want to play Iowa. I want to play this. I want to play all the good teams. And let's say they might not be the good teams for real. Like let's say you pick. I guess because you always pick at the beginning of the season. It's not like you picking in the middle of the season.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
If let's just say like even with Paige, UConn had their run for years where they were the elite team and they was the team to beat.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's South Carolina's turn where they're the team to beat that you want to play
for sure.
So I feel like it's like I said for the women's, it's kind of hard for you to just early in the season like, well, I want to play them. I know they're gonna because like I said, USC, nobody thought USC was gonna be this good.
Yeah, and I mean that's what.
And even with you, like nobody thought she was gonna have this outbreak.
I think people who probably from California probably knew that. Like if you really probably follow, like if you follow some of those like Ballers Life and some of those like underground page, and that's why I make sure I follow some of them just because you will realistically. That's the only way you're gonna get hip to some of these players early. Because I don't think nobody expected. I do agree with you. I don't think nobody expected for her to be as big as she is or as good as she is already. But I do think. I mean, Chris Brown went to some of her games early. Like Chris Brown was going to her games and all that before.
I think that's just a thing of you been hipped into the culture or you just knowing what goes on.
Or just living in that area. Because the same way how people here would be like that with Coach Ward's son. Turn your mic up, son.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
So that, but that's what I'm saying. I think it's just feel like it's just like with her. Yes, if you was watching her or you even seen the games that she played, then you got caught to her. Because like I said, the games that she played before high school wise, if you really didn't follow that or even pay attention to like the shade room, because nobody, like I said, yes, you did see people at her game, but you really didn't know where her face. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw it, but you really didn't pay it no mind.
Yeah, because she's still. I mean, still even realistically, and I think. The cool thing for her this year is, it's cool to go under the radar this year. Don't do too much talking. But if we just off of promotion and marketing, I do think realistically she's going to have to eventually get her talk game together. Because I mean that's what realistically.
But how do you choose that way? Because do you want to be the loud and outspoken? Like, oh, I want this. Like, do you kind of keep it?
No, I'm not
humble?
saying I ain't saying being loud and outspoken, because when I say like let your game talk, because I mean it's even not necessarily just let your game talk, where you got to kind of do some talking, but and that's realistically even for Angel Reese, like that's the benefit for her. Like, of course, I mean you got to have strong skin for it, but you kind of just can't allow you. And the reason why I say you got to be able to learn how to talk on your own and kind of be a little bit more swaggish with your wording and your on the court play, because of course Juju, her game speak for itself, but realistically, you still need somebody to be able to speak for you. You're gonna have to learn how to speak for yourself. The same way we talked about, like for Jamal Murray, Devin Booker, like a lot of those dudes who, like, if you watch basketball, if you watch the games, they got even Brandon Ingram, like a lot of them got great games, and they are very, like, if you watch the game, like, dog, they dogs, like they really could get a bucket easily, but they don't have that machine behind them. And we see what the machine do. The machine can pull you up, or the machine can tear you down. Look at perfect example. Look at Zion. Look at what's my man Victor Wembanyama. Like, dog, realistically, it should know to. If we've been complete honest, and we didn't talk about this a couple times on here.
No way should work it here.
No, it's no way he should get Rookie of the Year. Chat should be hands down.
Cole, it should be if you
do anything, it should be. I'm cool with the Cole,
like,
and I'm sure
with Grant Hill
and Jason Kidd. I'm cool with the Cole. I think everybody will be cool with the Cole. But outside, if it's not a Cole, then it gotta go to Chet, because it just don't make no sense. But again, when we're talking about just that's the difference between allowing, and I think that's why you see so many, and people get tired of like how many athletes getting podcasts. But I think a lot of athletes without voicing their opinion on how much they don't like it, because of course some of them still want to get a check from ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever case may be, but a lot of they can pay attention. You know that the media dictates how people look at you. The media sit here and tell y'all Caitlin Clark is the GOAT. Like, everybody literally forgot about Paige. And that's why when you asked me, what was it, 2 weeks ago, when you asked me who do I think needs to win this national championship more and need this spotlight more, it is Paige. Like, even for her to have to come back for a 5th year, and like I said, of course,
all of them came, right?
Yeah, well, what's the name already declared that she's going to the WNBA? Caitlin. But the rest of them, nobody else haven't said that.
I think all of them had injuries, or even that where they was out
because of the pandemic year or whatever case may be. So that's what they call it. That 5th year is the pandemic year. But even look for Big Boy to play for North Carolina. This is 5th year too, and this is 5th year. And I couldn't, like, I seen some. I was a dude I follow on Instagram, and he was kind of like, he didn't really go into details in the backstory, but I just heard him say like this was his 5th year. And even Gilbert Arenas and them was talking about it earlier when I was listening to them. They was talking about the big boy from Purdue. This is his 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a lot of them, especially for some of the big.
I don't blame you.
But no, you don't blame you. But for some of them, it's just like if I'm a parent, just as much as it's important to learn how to play the game and become a skilled player, at the same time, you have to understand marketing. No, you have to be able to figure out how to get that done.
That's my only question where I feel like where you got to go under the radar, or you can't be too loud and vocal, because a lot of things, when you start talking too much, then that's when people start pulling up your history. Oh, well, you reclassify such and such. That's when they start pulling up your background and that type of information. Because like I said, it can get tricky. And even like when you look at these March Madness tournaments, that's when you're supposed to make your name and you can go on from, to the NBA. Like, even for Big Boy, he probably right now, just him playing the way he playing.
Oh, he just up his stock.
He can just up his stock.
But just perfect example though. Even just look for him yesterday when he did that whatever he did to the Duke fans, and it started to go viral. Everybody started to make a big deal about it. Mm-hmm. That alone, like what I'm saying, when I'm talking about
you gotta make a name of yourself.
You have to make. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you don't literally have to see it and say, hey, let me go start a podcast, so let me start doing a bunch of interviews or nothing like that. No, I'm talking about when you on the court, you have to make people see you and feel you just as much as it is just the stats, because the stats ain't gonna sit here. The stats don't just sell jerseys. Let's be clear. Like, look, just even think about how big, or even think about how great Giannis is, or even the Joker. Like, none of them don't have no real personality, and that's why the NBA is still holding on by dear life to LeBron and the Stephs and the Kate, because they didn't kind of put so much money invested in them. So you have to learn how to, dog. It ain't just look. Perfect example. Let's just real quick. Think about how for a second before Luka really started to hit his peak. And Luka understand it too, because that's why he's very, like, he celebrate, he talk trash, he show a lot of emotion on the court. But just think about how Trae Young, just off of his swag on the court, has kept himself in that connect. They're not in the same conversation no more. But for a hot second, it was like, it was an even trade. Who got the best of that trade? Was it Atlanta or was it Dallas? And everybody kind of was like, oh, it's a fair ball game, because Trae Young made it deeper in the playoffs than Luka at one time, and then it was just like, so it was a fair exchange. But then, of course, as their career started to go along, Luka started to pull away more. But you still realistically gotta be able to know how to show up in these moments, dog. Like, you got to.
You can and like I said, it's okay. You can show up in the moment. You can do your talk, but like you said before, you got to be able to take your your shit the same way. Because it's like even tonight with Angel Reese, like you put your little you gotta sit
Oh yeah,
here.
that's
You
gonna
gotta
you gotta
trust me.
Trust me. When
can't sit here and
tomorrow
go
that crown is gonna do a worldwide. Oh my, that crown is gonna go do a world tour. Like it's almost like a nigga took your chain.
Right now, I wish I was good with the Photoshop because clock must have hit 12. Cinderella gotta give her shoe back.
Yeah, that one tough. Like that's tough. Like, let's get into the episode. I ain't even started. We was just on YouTube live testing out this stuff.